question, we have already had. Good. Yeah, those. Wow.
Okay, ready, anyone? No, thank you, Lori. Good afternoon, everybody. We are sitting at Town Hall on Tuesday, July the 14th, 2026. It's 5 p.m. We are sitting as the Committee of Adjustment for the first part of our meeting. Call this meeting to order. Item number 2 is the agenda. And it's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crawford, that the Committee of Adjustment meeting agenda for July 14th, 2026 be adopted as presented. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor, and that's carried. Any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest for this agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to item number 4. For purposes of this meeting, our CAO is called the secretary, and so I will turn it over to her to start the meeting off. Then we will have the applicant or the applicant's planner. Please come to the podium and say your name when you're speaking. Then online, we have Arjun Soor, who is our planner. He will speak next. And then if the public wishes to make any statements, then they would come to the podium. And then we have a discussion after we've heard from those people. So with that being said, Madame, over to you.
So a minor variance application was received for the property located at 8 Bedford Street. The purpose of the minor variance application is to seek relief from comprehensive zoning bylaw number 08-12 as amended to permit the installation of 2 3.05 meters by 2.44 meter shipping containers and 1 6.1 meter by 2.44 meter shipping container to support pop-up retail uses. The purpose of the minor variance application is to seek relief from section 6.1.2.1.5 C1 zone provisions and section 317.1.1 landscape open space of the zoning bylaw. As follows. A, to permit a reduced interior side yard setback of 2.4 meters, whereas the minimum interior side yard setback where the yard abuts a lot in a residential zone is 9 meters. And B, to permit a reduced continuous strip of landscape open space of 2.4 meters, whereas a minimum of 3.0 meters is required. The subject property is not the subject of any other applications under the Planning Act. Notice was given by posting signage on the subject property and mailing notices to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property for the Planning Act. In accordance with section 4512 of the Planning Act, the applicant, the minister or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the matter may within 20 days of the making of the decision appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal against the decision of the Committee of Adjustment. A specified person does not include an individual or a community association. To date, the village has received 5 comments in support of the application from the following individuals. Kay Lake Supernatural Hair Boutique, 10 Bedford Street, she's the owner. Dale and Karen Jones, 6 Bedford Street, property owners. Tracy Phillips, IDA Pharmacy, 3 Church Street, owner. Casey Kadrenko's Independent Grocer, 22 Main Street, owner. Stephanie Manston, the Victorian Luxury Suites, 16 Church Street, owner. The village is also in receipt of a letter from the RBCA with no objections to the application. And I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Secretary. So this is an opportunity for you don't have a planner here.
Cynthia will speak on it.
I'm sorry?
Cynthia will speak on it.
Okay, Cynthia?
Madam Mayor, members of council, and Westportonians. My name is Cynthia Pringle. I'm the owner of Life is Good Westport. And for many years, John and I have invested in Westport through our businesses, community events, and downtown revitalization efforts. Tonight, I would like to share a new project that I believe will benefit both our local economy and the character of the village. Our proposal is called Little Shops on Bedford. The development will consist of 1 8 by 20 foot permanent retail shop, complementary to our Life is Good shop, and 2 8 by 10 pop-up retail units, available for short-term rentals by local makers, artists, and small businesses. Together, these small shops create a flexible retail destination that encourages entrepreneurship while adding another unique shopping experience to downtown Westport. The buildings will be solar powered, minimizing service requirements and helping control long-term operating costs. Why this project? Many small businesses simply cannot afford a traditional storefront. The project provides an affordable opportunity for entrepreneurs to test the market without committing to long-term leases or expensive renovations. The rental units are fully serviced, move-in ready, allowing for vendors to focus on selling rather than construction and overhead. This creates opportunity for local artisans, seasonal businesses, online retailers wanting to try a physical presence, and new businesses testing the Westport market. Westport has built its reputation on unique independent businesses, tourism, and a walkable downtown. Little Shops on Bedford complements that vision by creating another destination that encourages visitors to stay longer, shop locally, and return throughout the season as the vendors change. The big question that comes up is one about appearance. Although these units begin as shipping containers, they will not look like shipping containers. They will be finished with siding, windows, doors, landscaping, lighting, and quality architectural details. The permanent shop will be fully insulated with heating and cooling for 3-season operation. Over time, the rental pods will also feature artwork by local artists, creating a colorful and welcoming destination. I hope our history speaks for itself. Over the years, John and I have continually invested in improving our own properties and creating community events such as Good Vibes events, Pumpkin Fest, Shop and Hop, and Westport. We care deeply about the appearance of our businesses and would never build something that detracts from the village that we're so proud to be part of. So when it comes to the variances, the requested variances, the lot's only 46.8 feet wide. So under the current 9-meter setback, the remaining buildable area would be approximately 9.6 feet wide, making any meaningful commercial development nearly impossible. Our proposal instead creates a balanced site with attractive landscaping, a retaining wall. We're gonna have benches, there's a generous green space, and maintaining that 100 feet from the pond. The project requires no municipal water or sewer services and has minimal environmental impact. When it comes to the 4 tests required, we believe that the application satisfies all 4 tests under the Planning Act. The variance is minor in nature. It represents desirable development that supports tourism and local business. It maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw because commercial use is already permitted on the property. It maintains the intent of the official plan by encouraging pedestrian-oriented commercial development and economic vitality. It's also worth noting that the new village's proposed zoning updates move in the same direction as our application. The draft bylaw reduces setbacks between commercial and residential properties from 9 meters down to 3 meters and recognizes the development pattern throughout the downtown. The draft zoning bylaw also removes the continuous landscape setback requirement, further supporting the planning direction behind this application. Our proposal is consistent with that evolving planning direction and reflects the scale and character already found throughout the village in the commercial core. Little Shops on Bedford is about creating opportunity. It supports small business, encourages tourism, improves an underutilized property, and adds another unique destination to downtown Westport. We have designed the project thoughtfully, listened to neighbors, minimize environmental impacts, and create a proposal that fits both the character and the future vision of the village. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
We'll go to our planner. Thank you, Cynthia. We know you'll be here. Arjan?
Hello. Hi, so it's Arjun Soor from Novatech, and I'll just provide very brief comments. We did provide a staff report that you will have seen. Kim provided an overview of the variances, but just to reiterate, the variances are to reduce the interior side yard setback requirement, which is 9 meters down to 2.4, and to reduce the continuous landscape strip requirement of 3 meters down to 2.4 meters. So this is a property that's designated in the Village Core and Harborfront designation. It is zoned C11, Central Commercial Zone, Subzone 1 in the current zoning bylaw. There's no specific provisions in the zoning bylaw that either permit or prohibit shipping containers as it is today. And so they're not specifically identified as a permitted building type, but they're also not prohibited as a building type in the zoning bylaw. What is permitted is a retail use, and that's our understanding. What the applicant is proposing here is a retail store. And so that is a permitted use in the zone. The adjacent lot is noted as being zoned R1. It's worth noting that in the upcoming, in the proposed zoning bylaw, that lot currently is not shown as being zoned R1, but in this zoning bylaw, which is what we're reviewing the application against, it is zoned R1, and consequently, there is that greater interior side yard setback requirement and that landscaped buffer requirement that applies that the applicant is seeking relief from. And so we have evaluated the application against the 4 tests. It is our professional planning opinion that the applications, the variances requested do meet the 4 tests. And so we don't have any concerns with the application. We do note that as Kim or Ms. Westgate had highlighted, there were a number of comments received for the application from the public that were in support, and then also an agency comment from the RVCA that was in support as well of the application. So we have no concerns on our end with the application.
I'm gonna kind of go out in order here because while I've got you on screen, Arjun, Ms. Pringle talked about changes coming in the draft zoning bylaw.
That's
And
right.
she mentioned that the proposal is to change the setbacks to 3 meters in whatever that multiple 5.2.6 is. And she mentioned that that the draft bylaw also removes the 3 meter landscaping requirement for a site like the Pringles. Can you confirm that for me?
Yeah,
If
so
you need time, you can come back, but I think that's relevant to some of our questions.
yeah, so let me just I have the zoning bylaw, like the new zoning bylaw open right now. So basically in the new zoning bylaw, this lot's going to be zoned village commercial. The adjacent lot is also going to be zoned village commercial. And within the village commercial zone, the setback that's proposed is no minimum setback, which is consistent with what is currently there if the adjacent lot is commercial. Where the adjacent lot is a residential zone, which no longer will apply if the new bylaw is carried in as it is, the requirement would be 3 meters. So that's what Ms. Springle was highlighting, was that the requirement would actually be 3 meters under the new zoning bylaw, not 9 meters. The request is 2.4 meters, but Ms. Pringle wouldn't require that variance for the interior side yard setback if the new zoning bylaw were to come into place as it is today. Because that property would not be zoned residential. The adjacent property would not be zoned residential.
Okay, can I paraphrase? Yes, the information that Mrs. Pringle provided is accurate. That in the new draft, in the new bylaw, it will be not 9 meters, it will be 3 meters, is in that property, but butting up to the Joneses residential. Is that correct?
That is correct, but because the adjacent property won't be zoned residential, it's actually going to be no minimum.
It's gonna be a what?
No minimum.
No minimum requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and as far as the landscaping, that is gonna be amended as well in the draft.
Yeah, so I'll just search here quickly, but because we did add a landscaped open space provision. Yeah, so the new zoning bylaw has a separate section for landscaped open space as well. And it does say that except in the village core zone, any lot in a commercial zone that abuts a residential lot has to provide that landscaped buffer of 3 meters. This lot will be in the village core zone in the new zoning bylaw if it's carried forward as it's proposed. And the adjacent lot will be too, so that landscape buffer requirement will also not apply.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. Members from the public, I just didn't want to lose that thought in case he had to go and dig out the bylaw somewhere and tell us. We have some letters from people in the audience, but is there anybody else who would like to speak first of all? Okay, Kat, come forward, please, give your name and your address. Well, it's the government,
Yeah, that's good.
okay?
I just wanted to say, I think this is a brilliant idea, and with the model that we put into place with the Art Shack, it's been proven and it's drawn a new interest to the community with artists coming as far as Lakefield, Ontario, and bringing their followings in from their communities, which is growing our tourism base and is really quite exciting. Also as a business owner, like you two, when we started our businesses, I think you guys were 20 years and we're about 20 years. Are you 30 maybe? I don't know.
We can't hear you.
Somewhere in there, sorry. About 20 or 30
You're
years.
on public here and they're
Okay,
trying to see you.
when we all started out in business, it was easier, more affordable. So I think it's our duty as business owners, when we are in a position where we can give back to artists and to give back to business inspired people or business minded people that otherwise may not have that opportunity because the grants aren't there in the same way. So I think that what you're doing is absolutely brilliant and may inspire a new generation of business owners that may otherwise feel like it's not a possibility.
Thank you.
And I think that the heart of the community is the downtown. So what you're doing, bringing artists and business owners that may not otherwise have that opportunity because they'll have a more affordable model to pursue their dream is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So for us to move on, we as sitting as a committee of adjustment, although Kat gave a wonderful testimonial for the business and heartfelt, our challenge is we're focusing on what's in front of us, which is the variance requests. I would be remiss if I didn't comment on Mrs. Pringle's comments about she and her husband's work in the community and how valuable it has been and how many years it has been going on. So not for the public watching or for the people in the gallery to think we're disregarding that. What we are here to discuss is the variance application, which is before us today. So I'm gonna throw it open to the committee. And we've got a little bit more information that may well give us an easier path forward tonight. We'll see. Go ahead, Councillor Aragona.
So I just want to make sure that I understood what Arjan was saying. So Arjan, right now, we're looking at this application because the current bylaw has these stipulations, but the bylaw that we will be having a public meeting about very shortly does not have these stipulations. So this variance application would not be something that we would need to consider under that bylaw, or where were you going with that? If you can just clarify.
Yeah, so just to provide some clarification, the provisions that we just kind of talked about were related to interior side yard setback and landscaped open space. Both of those provisions would not apply to this property because the property is going to be zoned BC. The adjacent property is also going to be zoned BC. And so as a result, neither of those would apply. So the variance itself for these provisions would not be required under the new zoning bylaw.
However, I don't think the last question that Councillor Aragona asked is necessarily a yes. Is there not a provision in the draft bylaw that CCANs are not possible in the core?
That's correct. So the current zoning bylaw, sorry, Madam Mayor, the current zoning bylaw does not say anything with relation to shipping containers. The new zoning bylaw will prohibit shipping containers in the village park.
Okay, I just wanted, because you kind of questioned it, we wouldn't need the variance. But if it were in place today, there'd still need to be a variance because as written, yet to be debated, discussed on the 28th, it says that they're not allowed in the downtown. Sorry, go ahead, just a point of clarification.
Yeah, so I just want to go down that clarification point for a second. So I want to make sure that the committee of adjustment, and if I'm wrong, then it needs clarification, but this is not about whether or not we're allowing shipping containers. This is about whether or not we're allowing a variance on setbacks
Correct.
on the properties.
Correct.
So maybe the correlation needs to be made, if it's Arjan, maybe the correlation between the two should be made, because right now this is specific to whether or not we're allowing a variance on setbacks.
Well, I think that with the proposed draft zoning bylaw. So for the public, this has been about a year project that we've undertaken. The planners have, every municipality needs to have a zoning bylaw. And it basically says wherever you have your business or your zone, there are things that are businesses and activities that can be undertaken, and there are others that are prevented. And that's the zoning bylaw. And ours is currently being updated. And we've had meetings here. There was one public consultation meeting. I think it was the last week of April. There's been some revisions done. And now the final stage of the process is a public meeting, which is scheduled for 2 weeks today at 5 o'clock at the canteen at the arena. And that'll be the next opportunity for the public to have input. And then it comes back to council to take some decisions. So I think that you raised that this has been my concern, and I'm sure yours as well, is that this is almost 2 weeks too early to give a simple answer. And so that's because as the bylaw sits today, there is a request for a variance as far as where the structures are on the property. Mrs. Pringle bringing up the bylaw moving forward, I was unaware, that's why I wanted Arjun to confirm for us right away that, not doubting her, but let's confirm while we're all in the same room when we can hear from the planner, that in 2 weeks, if that goes through, that draft bylaw is approved by council, then those restrictions would not be in place. However, in that draft bylaw, there is a section that prevents sea containers being used in the core. So they are connected in that, I thought it was interesting that Mr. Pringle said that these things won't be constraints in the future, but in the future, there will be a different constraint. So to rely on the future bylaw tonight is troublesome, but it was very good information to know that that's the direction that we're heading. And I know we've all read that draft bylaw many times, but until you're actually looking at it, because there's a certain concern in your mind, you're gonna miss it. So I'm coming back to you, Councillor.
Yeah, so I'm still thinking that we're clouding the issue. I mean, the conversation here is about setbacks
Yeah.
and whether or not we're gonna allow setbacks. It's starting to be a conversation about shipping containers. And does it need to be a conversation about shipping containers, or should it be a conversation about setbacks? I wanna make sure that we're clear about that.
Setbacks.
Well, why are we talking shipping containers?
Sorry, Jim. It's about setbacks.
No, but I want to speak up.
John, sit down. Please sit down for a minute. I'm gonna work my way through this. John, trust me.
Just for 1 second.
Trust me,
please, Councillor.
John, I will work my way through this for you. Trust me. And if I'm wrong,
You're confusing
then
the
if
issue
I'm wrong, I'll invite
here,
you back
you're
up.
Speaking on 2 different topics, when we're here specifically, as Joe mentioned.
John,
Before that, I just want to say that, then I'll sit down. I just want to make sure that you're on the same page as everybody else is.
we are.
Thank you.
So we are, the variance in front of us is exactly as you said. It's about setbacks.
I'm clear about that.
I can tell you, I don't know how this is gonna go, but hearing that we are looking at moving it in 2 weeks makes me much more optimistic for the proponents.
Mhm.
What we are talking about, the variance in front of us today, so comments on that, let's just stick to that.
So based on so my comments, based on the conversation around setbacks as it relates to this particular property and how the setbacks are being applied, I have no problem with approving the proposal from the applicant as it relates to setbacks.
Councillor Graffer.
First of all, thanks to the proponents for the level of detail. I mean, and particularly this 1 page which answered half of my questions. However, there was a question I was asked by the by Dale and Kara Jones because they couldn't be in town for this meeting. And it had to do simply with what they couldn't understand because the digital drawings are tough in terms of engineering. Their worry is simply, although they're supportive of it completely, but they have a worry about drainage. So they would simply like to have that on the table for engineers, as the designs are being done with the setbacks reduced to the neighboring properties, with landscaping being done and with climate change and the amounts of rain that we tend to get. They just want to be confident that drainage is attended to so that in advance water is underneath what we see here is the patio and taken away down the pond.
So this property requires site plan as well in conjunction with the building permit. So that would be something to be considered with site plan.
Yeah, great. I just want that on it. They wanted that on the table.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Carter.
Yes. I spoke with Dale and his wife today, and I reiterate Councillor Crapper's comments about the drainage. They're concerned with the grade of the land, not, and they haven't experienced heavy rainfalls over the last little while. They're quite concerned about the torrent of water coming down through there. And they also commented that they had been in, they had made some negotiations with Mr. and Mrs. Pringle about the location of the retaining wall, and they were pleasantly surprised that the negotiations went well, and the retaining wall was centered on the lot, which is something that for myself as a counselor, didn't have that information, but after inquiring through staff, was told that that wasn't actually part of the application where the retaining wall was. Just because it's not in our zoning bylaw. I will suggest down the road that anything that qualifies as an OBC retaining wall, which would be under the Ontario Building Code, would matter. But based on what we see here right now and what's in front of us, I think that I would be a yes for the variance.
So, you never know what's gonna happen at a meeting. And, I came in with copious notes for no. That the request for the amount of the variance was, putting the, CCAN closest to the east. Instead of 30 meters from their property line. Putting it 7 feet 10 inches. And so that I know that the people that in the gallery, when I started writing, scribbling, I'm sure that they were talking to themselves, going, what's going on? I am very pleased to hear Mrs. Pringle's research. That we are going to that anyway. I am troubled about the prohibition in the draft plan for sea containers in the core. And so I just want you to take a sober moment, because you are setting a precedent tonight if we say yes. We can't say to the Pringles, well, the variance was okay. I know you want to stay on the variance, but this is the real world we're in. We can't say that's okay and then pass a zoning bylaw amendment that prohibits them in the core. And, you know, Arjun, we're not presupposing what's gonna happen at the public meeting. But if that is the decision you make tonight, that we make tonight, then we need to address that before the public meeting.
Yeah.
All right, and that seems fair. So, I don't have a motion in front of me, team. I'll get the CAO or the secretary to give me one, but, I am in support of the request. Based upon the incredible research that Cynthia did, and that really, really helped. So I guess let's just motion forward. Moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that the we're sitting as Committee of Adjustment here, right?
Yeah.
Committee of Adjustment supports the application for the variance by Mr. and Mrs. Pringle. And I'm gonna complicate it, and further, for Arjan, the draft bylaw is adjusted. You still with me there? Is adjusted that the containers are not prohibited in the core. And if that can't be done in 2 weeks, team, then we address it up front at the public meeting so people aren't getting crazy. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Because you can't do that, we can't do this tonight, and then 2 weeks from now say, well, you can't have it.
Right.
All right, everybody all right with that? Comments on the motion? Councillor Carter.
I think it's appropriate, that we're dealing with what's in front of us right now, and in 2 weeks, we'll deal with what's in front of us at that point in time.
It'll be a lot easier. But yes, that's right. Councillor Crafton, where are you sitting? Are you all right?
I was under the impression that we were not locked in on the notion of
Correct.
banning skate cans. In fact, there were some really good reasons why in the downtown core, we were gonna handle them as one-off presentations and consider the merits of each one.
That's actually not where we went in the, but we were close. Honestly, I went and watched the April 7th committee meeting where Barry showed pictures. Joe liked the pictures. We all thought that's yay. We gave direction to the planners to come back at the next meeting, which actually was the 14th. And then when we realized that our challenge is trying to put in a bylaw, the aesthetics, which again, Mr. Pringle covered in spades for us. We didn't even have to ask those questions. And Joe wouldn't have let us anyway. That's a sea container bylaw. So once we get the zoning bylaw passed, then staff will put together the container bylaw. And whether it's one of Councillor Crapper, you know, then we can write all that into the bylaw then. Just, we kind of left it, let's get the zoning bylaw done and then we'll look at the other. This is not inconsistent with
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm good with that.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Aragona.
Yeah, I think we're consistent with the current zoning bylaw and the requirements for the setbacks and the variances applicable to that. We're consistent with the process we started with the new zoning bylaw. The one thing that we are going to need to adjust, as you said, is what we do with shipping containers within the context of that
Yeah.
bylaw, and whether it needs a separate bylaw just for shipping containers within the village core, that we can look at that as a potential other activity. But right now, the general zoning bylaw is there. We have to address that section that deals with shipping containers.
Yeah. And I would leave you with, you probably have a great footprint to look at when you're designing the bylaw, when it comes to what do they look like? And so, you know, it may be that staff can work with the Pringles and where were their ideas, what were their inspirations? That's next year, next council. But for tonight, let me call the question. All in favor of the variance, raise your hand. All right, passed. Congratulations.
Am I allowed to speak now?
You can come and speak now.
I want to finish my thought. First of all, you were, Mayor Jones, you were right in one of the comments that you made tonight, that Cynthia did an excellent job of planning, and she did, and I want to commend her for doing that. You were also a little bit confused about what was happening with the two different, conversations tonight. We were not talking about shipping containers.
Right.
And for the record, shipping containers have been in the village of Westport and are currently in the village of Westport. Martha and Casey Kudryko had one on their property for many years prior to them buying it. Steve Krenus has a series of shipping containers on his properties that are there already. So this is not a new thing. This is elevating it to a level where it's going to be a useful beautification process. So I just want to make that clear, that what I was trying to get to was that talking about zoning, and yes, we have spoken with the Joneses about drainage, and that if you look at all of the drawings that David has done for us, it eliminates quite a few of those issues that are currently on the table. So thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. You can stay for the rest of the meetings if you want, or you can skedaddle, whatever you'd like.
It's worth staying.
And we're gonna adjourn, so.
Riveting conversation.
Moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Crawford, that this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the Village